Hey friends, welcome back to This Homemade Life. If you're new, I'm Courtney, and we are going to be doing an extreme grocery budget challenge today. So I worked really hard planning the meals on this meal planner here and making everything fit. I did a lot of research on YouTube, and I kind of found that $50 seemed to be about the average. Some people went as high as $70 or $80. Some people were as low as $35, so I felt like $50 was a fair medium. So I spent $49.31 at Walmart, and that will make 84 meals. So basically that breaks down to feed a family of 4, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 7 solid days. Now I made this work by leftovers. I will make a big dinner and there will be leftovers for lunch the next day. So it will serve 4 for dinner and 4 for lunch. And then of course I have 2 different options for breakfast. Also in my grocery haul in a minute you will see yeast, and I will show you how I made a loaf of bread. I got enough yeast to make 3 loaves of bread. That is 1 loaf that is just specifically for breakfast. The other 2 loaves are for sides for dinner. You can just put butter on them, you can toast them, whatever you want to do is up to you. I just served them buttered on the side. I did want to show you guys some garlic toast, but it didn't happen. I wanted to serve it alongside the spaghetti that I made one night. However, I had a rip-roaring migraine that day, and it was really hard just to get dinner on the table. I just didn't make the garlic bread, but it's super simple. You just toast a piece of that bread and rub some garlic on it once it's all toasted, and that will make some delicious garlic bread. So if you or anyone you know is struggling with any kind of food insecurity, please reach out to your local food banks and food pantries, or if you don't know where you can get assistance, the USDA has a number set up. You can call 1-866-3-HUNGRY, and they will guide you in the right direction to help you put food on your table. Also, if anybody is wondering, the USDA did forecast that food prices are going to increase between 8.5% and 9.5% in 2022. That is a lot. So I think all of us are looking to save a few extra dollars in the kitchen these days. All right, I think that's enough chatting. I have first a grocery haul, and then we'll dive right into cooking the meals and getting on with the week. All right, here we go. These are all the groceries that I purchased today at Walmart. I was actually surprised when I put it all on the counter. That seems like a lot of food for $50, so that's not terrible. And like I said, I did try to include vegetables, even if it's not much, a little bit of vegetables or some fruit. I tried to make these meals as healthy as I could, and it's such a challenge, but I think I've done it. I also try to steer clear of like beans and cornbread and just beans and rice because everybody does that. I tried to come up with some different ideas. So first off, I got a 12-pack of ramen noodles. We're going to make a ramen dish using these and 1 or 2 of the sauce packets. And this was just the most economical way to purchase it because on top of it, I'll have all the extra sauce packets I can use to season some other things if I choose to. I got a package of rolled raw oats. These are quick cooking oats. So I wanted the big canister, but they were sold out, and that ended up being okay. It's the same amount of servings in this bag, and it's cheaper. And then it enabled me to get some other stuff to kind of stretch it a little further. So that worked out in the end. Light brown sugar, that's for the oatmeal and for the ramen. I got some Worcestershire sauce. This is a great seasoning. It packs a punch. It goes a long way, and it's only $1. Minced onion. So I'm just assuming everybody has salt, pepper, and water at their homes. I'm buying any and everything else that will be used. So I had to be really cautious with the spices and seasonings because they're expensive. I need some, but I don't want too many. I got some cheddar cheese soup. I got some chickpeas, a can of cream of chicken soup, a can of mild diced tomatoes with green chili. It's just the Walmart version of Rotel. I got a really big can of petite diced tomatoes. This is cheaper than buying 2 smaller cans, and I needed 2 smaller cans, so I just bought this, and I will divide it in half. I got 1 can of spaghetti sauce. It is the meat flavored sauce. Since I'm not putting any meat in it, I thought that might be a good way to go. I got some peaches. These are peaches in water, and they are artificially sweetened. We'll be using this for the oatmeal. Back here, I got a bag of chicken leg quarters. I still have them in this bag because I'm always afraid those other ones will leak. So originally, Walmart sells a twin pack of whole chickens, and it averages out to be about $8, and that's what I really wanted. But there was 1 pack of twin chickens left in my store, and they were like $11. That was out of my budget, so I had to shift gears. But these leg quarters are $6.42, at least where I live. So I picked these up because all I'm going to be doing is shredding the chicken up for casseroles anyway. So whether it's leg quarters or drumsticks or whatever, I can make any of it work. I got a big bag of broccoli. This is 2 pounds. I need it for 2 separate meals. I got a big bag of frozen chopped spinach. Originally, I wanted some fresh vegetables. I tried to get some zucchini, but this actually ended up being 30 to 35 cents cheaper, so I went with that. A bag of frozen peas and carrots. If you're making a lot of casseroles, this is really great to throw in there because it's kind of one of those things that goes with almost anything. I also got a block of sharp cheddar cheese. It's just a little tiny $2 block, but I can stretch this pretty far because it's sharp. It packs a lot more flavor, so we won't need as much. So we can use just this for a huge batch of homemade macaroni and cheese. I got some of these little smokies. Typically when I make my sausage, bean and rice, chili type dish, whatever it is, I would use sausage, but sausage is about $3.50 at my store for the cheapest one. These little smokies are somewhere between hot dogs and sausage, so they'll work. This is $2.48, and there's 8 of them in here. This was the cheapest sausage product available at my store, aside from getting just hot dogs, and I didn't want to do that. You could if you want to. I just don't really like hot dogs, so I went with this. Butter's expensive. When my husband and I were poor and on a budget, we never, ever, ever purchased butter because butter's very pricey. So we got margarine. So today I got margarine. There's 4 sticks in here for $1.48 versus the butter at my store was about $4. That's a huge price difference. I did pick up a bunch of bananas. We'll be using these for breakfast things. I got a bag of carrots. These kind of annoyed me. It's a pound of carrots. Online it says they're 67 cents. In the store they're $1. So there's that, but we all know how Walmart does, so sometimes that happens. I got a head of garlic, just one. I could have gone with garlic powder, but I kind of feel like this is going to pack more flavor, so I went with just 1 head of garlic. I got 2 pounds of elbow noodles. These are the cheapest pasta option if you're looking for just regular pasta. So a 2-pound box of these is a lot cheaper than all the other boxes of pasta. This was the best deal, and this is what we're going to use to make broccoli mac and cheese. I got 3 pounds of spaghetti, 1.5 pounds for spaghetti, and 1.5 pounds for chicken spaghetti. Back here, I did get some yeast so we can make some homemade bread. It's super simple. It doesn't take much, so we'll throw that together. I got 1 bag of dried pinto beans so that we can make the sausage, bean, and rice. It's, like I said, it's kind of like a chili, so I always beef it up with some beans. I got 3 pounds of rice, so I got it in a 2-pound bag and a 1-pound bag. I think that's probably more rice than I need, but I'm afraid 2 pounds wasn't going to be enough. I got 1 5-pound bag of flour. I did get the all-purpose unbleached flour. So here's the deal with that. If you buy unbleached flour, you can actually make your own sourdough starter. If you make your own sourdough starter, you don't need yeast, and that saves you like 80-something cents. So that is definitely something you can take into account. The only thing you spend to make this is time. It's just flour and water mixed together, and you let it kind of sit on your counter for a little bit and ferment for a couple of days and do its thing. You just continue to feed it, and you've got, basically it's like homemade yeast. It will rise your bread. So if you guys want to do that, then you can Google how to do it. It's super simple. I actually have a starter going already, but if you are not interested in that, Walmart sells yeast and it's not that expensive. I got some peanut butter. This is for toast in the morning, and this is for the ramen dish. They had the honey roasted and it was the same price as the regular, so I thought, well, that's probably going to taste better. So I went with that because even if I was making with whatever ingredients I want, making my ramen dish, I typically would add honey in it to sweeten it a little bit. I'm not buying honey for this because honey is expensive, so this just adds a little extra flavor even to the ramen. I did have enough to buy this little thing of chicken bouillon to add some extra flavor. This, along with the seasoning packets from the ramen, are going to help so much. Then I also got paprika. You can get whatever spice you want in the Walmart section that costs $1. I had enough to get 1 extra seasoning. I debated between this and Italian seasoning, and at the end decided I would go with this. You could always do a different one. And you know, if you guys have extra seasonings at home, you've already bought them, you could use them for whatever recipes I show you. That's totally up to you. But for me, I'm just showing I can purchase all of this and I can make all of these meals with only these ingredients: salt, pepper, and water. Everything started off with a little bit of meal prep. Here I am making some no-knead Dutch oven bread. You will find the recipe linked down below. The only thing I did that was different from the recipe was I added just a little tiny bit of brown sugar. Typically when I make this recipe just on a normal day, I actually add in a little bit of honey. The recipe doesn't call for it, but it does help your yeast because it feeds your yeast. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to do it, but the bread is definitely better. And I didn't add a whole ton in. I probably could have added more
Typically with the honey, I add in a tablespoon and I get really good results. I feel like my bread was not quite, it didn't rise like it normally does, but it was still really good. I mean, it was bread and it filled our bellies. We loved it. There it is before, and of course after baking. I just kind of cut the little slits in the top just to make it look pretty. This is used for everything. So 1 whole loaf is for breakfast, and there it is. I just put some of that peanut butter and sliced some banana on top, and you should have enough to make breakfast for 3 or 4 days out of that. It's really yummy and it's super filling, and it's also a very quick option for mornings where you don't have a whole ton of time. Now on to the next breakfast. I only picked 2 breakfast options, but they are both very filling. I poured that whole bag of oats into my pot, and then I had that can of diced peaches. I drained it into that measuring cup, diced up the peaches, and then I went ahead and tossed the peaches in and added water on top of the peach juice. And in total, I'm going to use about 8 cups of water, and then I put in a few tablespoons of brown sugar. Now that's really to your taste. Put in as much brown sugar as you want to make it as sweet or not as sweet as your family prefers. Also with the water, follow the instructions on the package because from brand to brand it's different, but there it is. It's just some peach oatmeal. It was really good and really filling, and it was nice. I mean, it really did fill your belly and stick with you for a while. The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and prep the chicken. So I had that big bag of chicken leg quarters. It did come with 2 fun little drumsticks in there too, but I'm taking a couple of seasoning packets from the ramen that I bought, and I'm using that to season the outside of the chicken. You know, if you have other spices and seasonings at home, go ahead and use whatever you want, but just to stick with the challenge, I only used what I purchased at Walmart, and the only other things I included were salt, pepper, and water. Just kind of assuming everybody has salt, pepper, and water. And for this, because there is so much sodium in that ramen packet, we didn't even need the salt. I did add a little bit of pepper, and I just kind of rubbed this all into the leg quarters, and then I roasted this in the oven. So, you know, cook time is going to vary, but I did it at 350 for about 45 minutes or so. Go ahead and check and make sure it's cooked all the way through, because, you know, sometimes your leg quarters are bigger than mine are because you don't get as many in the bag. It's just by weight of the bag. 10 pounds could mean you could have a whole bunch of tiny leg quarters, or you could have just like 3 massive leg quarters. It really varies. So be sure and check and make sure it's all nice and cooked. But once it was done, that's what it looked like. It was all golden and brown and delicious. And I just pulled it off the bone and shredded it. And I got so much chicken. I didn't even use all the chicken, but that is because some of the meal options throughout the week, I didn't put meat on mine because I just prefer to eat that way sometimes. So for the first night of the week, we are making some broccoli mac and cheese. I actually make this for my husband and myself fairly regularly. If my kids are all busy doing other things and it's just the 2 of us I'm worried about, I will throw together some broccoli mac and cheese, and we absolutely love it. Now, when I make it regularly, I do add a few extra ingredients like heavy cream and stuff, but I was able to kind of change this over so it would be budget friendly. I did account for enough ingredients to make a full 8 servings of this. However, what you're watching me make is just 4 servings because I didn't eat 8 servings. We were not going to be able to eat 8 servings. I didn't have enough people to feed in my house that night with 8 servings. So I didn't want to waste any food. So I just kind of cut this in half. So keep that in mind as you watch me cook. So I started off by, you would take half the bag of frozen broccoli and thaw it in the microwave. I like 2.5 minutes or so, and it'll still be slightly frozen, but you can work with it. Chop it up. That right there will make the broccoli stretch so much further throughout the dish, and it just kind of makes it a lot more appealing, a lot more enjoyable, and a lot more filling. Once I had my broccoli all chopped up, I set it to the side and headed over to the stovetop, where I put in about a tablespoon or so of some of that imperial margarine, and then I added in my elbow noodles. I did measure out half the box here. Y'all would do the entire box. And I let them just kind of saute in the butter for 1 to 2 minutes. That extra toasting step just adds a little extra layer of flavor. Don't skip that, but keep an eye on them because they will burn if you don't watch them. Next, I added in just enough water to barely cover the noodles. So what we're cooking is a mac and cheese, but we're cooking it like risotto. And that enables us to have like a nice creamy sauce without having to have milk or roux or anything like that. I did go ahead and add in some of that minced onion just so it can rehydrate in the water as the noodles cook. And I am showing you we're going to put some Worcestershire sauce in there in just a little bit. I thought about here, but then I decided the water evaporates out. So any flavor you have in there right now will actually get stronger as the water evaporates. So I thought, well, let's wait. I did go ahead and continue to keep water on the noodles until they were almost cooked. They were still firm, but I could tell they were almost there. At that point, I went ahead and added in all of my broccoli, and this is the step where we're going to go ahead and add in the Worcestershire sauce. Now, I did about a teaspoon. You don't want to go too heavy. And now is when we salt it. Don't salt it before, because like I said, the water is reducing and the flavors amplify. You don't want it to be too salty. But I did add in my salt, and I added in some pepper and a little bit more butter, just kind of a creaminess to add to the dish since we don't have any milk. And then you would add in the entire block of sharp cheddar cheese that we purchased at the store. I just added in half the block. And then you can always add in just a little bit more water if you feel like you need to. If it's starting to kind of dry out, and sometimes it does, and that's fine. Add in just a little bit more water. But that sharp cheddar cheese is really going to pack a lot of cheesy flavor for this dish. So it's really, really going to taste like some really high-end mac and cheese. It's going to be delicious. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Just stir and make sure the cheese has melted completely into everything. And like I said, if yours is too thick, see how mine's a little bit saucy? If yours is not saucy, go ahead and add just a little bit more water. Just a couple of tablespoons will do it. You don't need a whole lot. And that's all there is to this dish. There it is, some broccoli mac and cheese. So delicious. On to our next meal. So this is a cheap take on chicken spaghetti. What I did here was, instead of having to worry about getting cheese, I just replaced the cream of mushroom soup with cheddar cheese soup, and that brought a lot of flavor to this. So right there, I emptied the can of cheddar cheese soup, and then I dumped in an entire can of Walmart brand Rotel. That really brings a lot to this dish. I promise it might sound weird, but it tastes so delicious. Then I put in about a teaspoon or so of those minced onions. We're going to use these a lot this week. For $1, you get a lot with that little can. I added in a little bit of paprika, probably about a quarter teaspoon, maybe a half teaspoon. Then some pepper. And this is going to be like our creamy soup base. And here I am adding in some of that shredded chicken. I was able to put in 2 cups. You could put in more for sure, because like I said, I had tons of extra chicken, way more than I thought I was going to end up with. So the chicken goes a long way. But for me, I just did about 2 cups, and then I mixed everything together. And you can kind of see if your chicken to sauce ratio is not something that you want. If you want more chicken or less chicken, it's totally up to you. I personally would have happily eaten this with no chicken. I just really enjoyed the tomatoes in there. They brought something really nice to this that I think my chicken spaghetti's been missing. I love chicken spaghetti. I don't make it very often, but I do love it. It's delicious. But this was really, really good. I think next time I make regular chicken spaghetti, I'm going to try adding in the Rotel just for that extra little bit of punch, because I really liked it. So over here on my stovetop, I just finished cooking my noodles. I just did 1 pound of noodles, 1 pound of spaghetti right there. And now I'm going to mix it all together. And we've got chicken spaghetti. Now I know a lot of times you bake chicken spaghetti. We're not, because we don't have a whole ton of sauce here. And I did reserve a cup of that pasta water that I was cooking, and you'll see me here kind of adding a little bit in just to make sure everything mixes nicely and the sauce is coating everything. But I really, really liked this dish. I was really impressed. It tastes like chicken spaghetti. It is missing a little bit of the creaminess because we can't add in as many ingredients on this budget, but the flavor is there, and I served it with a piece of homemade buttered bread. I just used the Imperial margarine spread, and it tastes like butter. It's really good. Okay, so on to the next meal. I'm actually making these for my husband's lunches throughout the week. My husband loves chicken and rice casserole. I actually make almost this exact casserole for him fairly regularly because he likes it. So I started off by dumping in my can of cream of chicken soup, and then I slowly incorporated a can of water in there just to kind of loosen it up and make it nice and creamy. And it also helps me get like all the last little bits of soup out of there we don't want to waste. Then I'm going to add in a teaspoon of the minced onion. Like I said, we are using this all week long. This is an ingredient I used to always keep on hand. Now I just have fresh onions that I dice, but not only is this a money saver, but it's a time saver too. I also tossed in about a teaspoon of paprika, and then we're going to throw in some cracked black pepper, however much you want. It's totally up to you. If you guys watch my videos, you know I put a lot of pepper on stuff because we just really like it. You may not like as much, and that's cool. I added in a little bit of salt just to kind of round out the flavor profile, and now we're going to dump in these frozen peas and carrots. I ended up dumping in about 3/4 of the bag. You can add more if you want to, but I felt like that was good. But like I said, if you want to dump the whole bag in, go right on ahead. That is totally up to you. And then I'm going to add about 2 cups of chicken to this. Like I said, that chicken went really, really far. I'm going to say somewhere 7-8 cups of chicken. It was a lot of chicken. My dogs are going to be so happy because, like I said, I had some left over. I'm mixing it with some rice and the last of those frozen peas and carrots, and boom, they've got dog food. See, like it really worked. Overall, I was able to feed my household, even my dogs, on this budget. But anyway, I went ahead and mixed the chicken in, and then I'm just going to add in some rice. I cooked this rice. It was 2 cups of rice that I rinsed with 2 of those Knorr chicken bouillon cubes, and then I just cooked it on my stovetop with water. That's it. And I'm just going to slowly kind of incorporate it in because I cooked it a while ago and then popped it in the fridge while I was doing other things. So I was slowly getting it out of the bowl so I could break up all the lumps and clumps. But this will serve 8 people. It is a really big, hearty casserole, and that's what it looks like. There's a lot of color, a lot of flavor, and my husband loved it. Of course, like I said, I make this for him pretty often, so I knew he was going to enjoy it. All right, so this one is a riff on a dish that I cook. I just call it sausage, beans, and rice. I think it's like a sausage chili. But I used to make it because it was really budget friendly, and now things like sausage are not as budget friendly. So I just kind of played with the ingredients a little bit and made it work. So sausage at my store is like $3.50 and up, but these little Smokies by Oscar Mayer, they're a cross between a hot dog and a sausage. They taste like the little Smokies that you get. These were $2.48, so it saved me $1, which was perfect. So I just went ahead and started slicing those into like little coins. And I'm showing you there what they look like. They look a lot like sausage. They don't really look like hot dogs. They reminded me in flavor of Little Smokies. I don't like hot dogs, but I did like these and I would eat them again. I also made a pot of beans. I showed you earlier when I put them in my slow cooker or my pressure cooker. I just cooked them according to the pressure cooker directions. You can find those online. And then I added in my sausage. I didn't drain any of the liquid out because there was like at best 3/4 of a cup in there, probably not even that much. But I added in my sausage, and then again with the minced onion. I'm going to do about a really solid teaspoon here because when I make this regularly, I add a whole diced onion in there. I'm also going to add in about a teaspoon of paprika. I just felt like it really kind of rounded out the flavors in this dish. We're going to add salt and pepper, and then typically when I make this dish, instead of using pinto beans, I would buy the Bush's grillers, and they kind of have a smoky flavor to them. So I'm trying to mimic that smoky flavor by kind of playing with the ingredients you would find in barbecue sauce. So to do that, I added in half of that giant can of the petite diced tomatoes, that one right there. I just added half of it, the juice and the tomatoes, just straight in half. Save the other stuff in your fridge. We're going to use it on another meal here real quick. And then I added in some brown sugar and some Worcestershire sauce. Barbecue sauce has like ketchup and brown sugar. I think it has some mustard in it and a few other ingredients. So I was really trying to play with what I had purchased to bring in that smoky flavor, and it worked. This tasted like it had barbecue sauce in it. I also added in 2 cloves of garlic that I just thinly sliced, and I served it over rice. It is really good and really filling, and that made more than 8 servings. And this was my oldest son Xander's favorite dish of the week. He loved it. Okay, on to our next meal. This one I created. I invented it in my head, and it was kind of a take on those grain bowls that you see everywhere. I used to really enjoy making grain bowls, and so I was just playing with some ingredients that were affordable. So I started off by adding some minced onion and some chopped garlic into my skillet with some of that imperial margarine, and then I tossed in a drained can of chickpeas. Those are going to be like our heartiness to this dish. If you have some chicken that you want to throw in here, you can do that as well. I opted to keep this a meat-free meal, but you can do whatever pleases you and your family. I added in some salt and some pepper, of course, for some flavor, and I went pretty heavy with the paprika. I probably did about a teaspoon here because we don't have a lot of other ingredients or spices that we could add. If you were working with a really well-stocked spice cabinet, I'd probably add in like some Italian seasoning or something, but I'm working with what I bought. I tossed in the other half of that can of petite diced tomatoes, and we're gonna just include the juice and everything. I did do 1/2 teaspoon of brown sugar. Whenever I work with canned tomatoes, like making my own sauce and stuff, I usually will add in just a pinch of sugar to kind of take away that bitterness from the can. And then next I took this bag of frozen spinach that we bought at Walmart, and I popped it in my microwave and just par cooked it for like half the time the bag said. And I'm breaking it up with my hands as I add it in, and just added the whole bag of spinach. Now, if you don't want that much spinach, you don't have to add it all in, but it really bulked up this meal, and it's got a lot of vitamins and nutrients in it. So it kind of makes it healthy. I also added in just a little bit extra water because a lot of it had kind of started to cook out as I simmered this. And then the last thing I did was toss in some Worcestershire sauce, and I served this over a bed of rice, just like any other grain bowl, and it was super delicious. My family really, really enjoyed this. It had way more flavor than I thought it would. So I think you guys should try it. It was really delicious. All right, so here I'm just showing you I made spaghetti. You guys know how to boil noodles. I just boiled 2 pounds of noodles and poured that entire can of sauce over it, mixed it together, and of course at the beginning I mentioned I would have liked to have made the garlic bread, but my migraine was so bad. I didn't eat this. It took everything I had just to make it. I mean, I was feeling pretty miserable by the end of the day. All right, on to the last meal, and my family adored this one. It was a way bigger hit than I expected it to be. I made it vegetarian, but you guys can always add chicken. Like I said, there's tons of chicken left. So I started off by using my vegetable peeler to peel the carrot, and then to, as I showed you, just kind of like shave it off like that. That makes it cook so quickly. You know, carrots are hard. They have a long cooking time, but this way it's almost instant. I headed over to my stovetop and I had some water that I was heating up, and I went ahead and dumped in a couple of the ramen noodle packet seasoning things. And then I added in, first I started with 4, and you'll see me in a minute add a 5th block of noodles in there. Now, I'm not making the full 8 servings. There was tons of ramen left. I still have broccoli left, all of it. I just made enough for my family, and it ended up being 6 servings as it was. All right, next I melted some of that imperial butter on the stovetop, or margarine, not butter. And then I added in some minced garlic. I minced up 2 cloves of garlic. You can go heavier or lighter, whatever you like. And there is the shredded carrot. I did go light because some people in my house love carrot and some people absolutely do not. I am one of the absolutely do not people. So I added it in because a lot of people do love it, and it is kind of in a lot of ramen dishes, so you can see it there. I also added in about a tablespoon of peanut butter, and I will later add a little bit more. If I were making this again, I would say do like a solid 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. And then I had reserved all of the cooking liquid when the noodles were done, so I started just adding a little bit back in, and we will incorporate all of it. In total, I had about 2 cups of liquid, so it's not a ton. Keep that in mind. If you have more liquid than that, I had 2 cups. I added in some brown sugar. I added in some of those minced onions. I added in chopped broccoli. I used the same trick here, thawed it in the microwave, chopped it up so it stretches further. And as you can see, I just continue to add in more of the cooking liquid as the sauce tightens up. I did put in some salt and some pepper, and I am mixing in those noodles now so that I kind of let them set for a minute off to the side, and they had started to clump together. My bad, I should have put some of that margarine on them, and I wasn't thinking about it. But all in all, this dish came together. There was veggies, there was noodles. It was really good, tons of flavor. I highly recommend this one. I hope you guys will try it because it's just like a new way to make ramen, and I thought it was really good, and my family loved it. That is it. That is my take on the Extreme Grocery Budget Challenge. I would like to do another challenge or a similar challenge to this in the future. I did have fun with this. It was hard. Inflation's so high right now. It's hard to fit things in a budget like this, but I had a great time overall, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Thank you for sticking around this long. If you're still here, drop me a comment down below. Make sure you smash that like button and subscribe if you are not already. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye.